Welcome back to Franchise Hockey Manager 11 with the Philadelphia Flyers. We finished the 2037-2038 season, and now Michkov is 33 years old. He's going to be turning 34 next season. We did extend him for 3 more years, and I wouldn't be surprised if that is all she wrote after that. He is starting to regress pretty significantly, and we'll take a look at how well he did in terms of the stats, though. He did get 52 points in 81 games, so starting to regress a little bit. His grade is still pretty good, and his ice time kind of took a little bit of a toll as a result of that, mainly because he's not featuring on the power play nearly as much. Only 3 power play goals last season, but all in all, not doing too bad. We'll take a look at the history of how well he's doing versus everyone else. We do have Rybkin also in terms of the goals leader, pretty close to passing Michkov, actually. Michkov is well ahead in terms of points leader, but Luchenko is now meeting him there as well, and then he's second place in terms of assists. So I still think he can definitely be the top goal scorer, at least for a little bit. I think Rybkin might end up overtaking him at some point, and then in terms of points, I think within 2 seasons, he should easily be able to clear that. So we're not too concerned with that. I don't see him retiring at 35. That'd be kind of odd. But we'll take a look at some of the acquisitions that we end up doing this season and see what we end up, how well we end up finishing as a result of that. But we'll look at some of the trades first. We did get rid of Patella and Smith earlier on last season for a second rounder and a first rounder. We did need to clear up some space as well. We did do some signings. I think that's actually, yeah, that's last season. Okay, good. We did end up doing some signings as well. Peter Kut, who I believe was one of our prospects, Sammy Nelson as well, Tusik, and we did get David Skorepa. Shockingly, for as low as we did, around 6 million. He was initially asking for around 13, so he's playing at the top line. He did regress in terms of his grade, but his points definitely improved. So between him being on the left side now should definitely help him as well. We did sign Jacob Hansen as our goalie. He managed to get 39 wins and 26 losses and 3 shootout losses as well. So not too bad for that. Taking a look at our cap situation, we'll actually look at the annual first. So we do have probably around 8 million left in terms of spending for this season, but next season we'll have to make some adjustments as well. Steger's probably on his last year, most likely. He has 26. If we can find a replacement, we will. Moravec is looking pretty good. He might even be able to feature on the top line at some point. Martin's still a 4-star, but yeah, Billy Belcher not producing as much as we wanted, considering how much we gave up for him. So we gave up a couple picks for him, and yeah, Morozov, Natanen, Armstrong, and our 2 first-rounders, and then even some rights of players as well, just to get Belcher. And it doesn't look like he's really developing quite like what we hoped, but still pretty decent. We're going to have to give him much more ice time, obviously, for him to be able to do that. But we'll take a look at how well we did last season. We managed to make it to the Cup Finals, but unfortunately, once again, injuries was kind of our undoing. 4-2 against Utah. I mean, I feel as though we could have put on a run, but Utah is actually a pretty good team, and we managed to at least win out through Carolina 4-2 and made it very close with Pittsburgh. But then Tampa Bay was surprisingly easy. I mean, all in all, not too bad as a result, but we'll take a look at how well everyone else is doing as well. Just in terms of the player index, we'll look at the playoffs as well. Bobby Clark's still at the top, and Michkov and Luchenko, respectively. Luchenko's also kind of regressing as well. Only 26 points last season, and he only played around 10 minutes. For 7.5, we could be forced to buy him out. I mean, I don't really want to make a habit of doing that, considering he should be regarded as a legend for sure for us. So we'll have to kind of play it by ear for that, because, I mean, it is the right thing to do to keep him as long as possible. He did play with us 1 season after getting Michkov. And then Rybkin also still there as well, 802. And then where's the next one? I think it drops down pretty significantly. Yeah, Sam Martin all the way down at 530, but he could easily make a jump pretty well. Goalie-wise, not too bad. Tonhauser, we end up having to get rid of him. He's now in the trade block. We got rid of him for, I think, for a first rounder actually. So we got him for a first rounder, which we then spent on Hubbard. But then he ended up becoming a free agent, so the Senators didn't end up grabbing him. So I found that very odd that we could have got rid of him for that. So pretty odd all around, but he is our top 4 in terms of wins for sure. But yeah, and Elijah has actually been lights out on his other teams, almost getting a Vezina as well. So definitely getting awards throughout that. But in terms of our depth, though, does show that Martin is the top right winger. So we are going to have to manually put him above Martin just for that. And yeah, Murr's not doing as well as what we want. Womack could potentially play this season, but I think we'll wait on that. But all in all, pretty decent. We are eagerly waiting for the draft. We do have 2 first round picks. Obviously, ours isn't going to be that good. But then you also have Winnipeg, who could be a lottery pick. You never know. It could end up being a lottery pick and could end up helping us towards maybe even the last season. I don't really see it helping us too much. Kamiyasu could also play for us this season as well. But goalies is always going to be something that we have to figure out. Schumacher doesn't look like he's good enough to start for us, unfortunately, so we probably are going to have to part ways with him just to ease up on the contracts. But in terms of players, yeah, 6. At least he's only going to be 6 or 7 million a season after this. But Ripken, 8 million is pretty significant, and same thing with Luchenko. So we're going to have to kind of factor that in. Martin's going to be paid top line minutes or top line money for second line minutes, and then Svensson we might also have to part ways with. So it's kind of all in at this point. We're going to try and get another cup if we can. We do have 5 total. We've managed to win 3 of those 5, and it does look like at least we're healthy in terms of cap though. So we can be fortunate to buy out one player if we need to. Yeah, Ronberg looks like he's good, and Janssen as well. So between all these players, Stein is now going to get a pay increase next season. And same thing with Kamiyasu, but he might not even play with us. We're really hoping Desmond can step it up for up, and Adam McConnell as well. If one of our players, like Scott, or I don't think McGlone will be able to do it, but if one of our players can do it, we'll do that. And then we'll look at the free agency center here and see who we might actually put our money behind. Pelosi looks pretty good. He wants 6 million, so not good enough for us, that's for sure. But those are the kind of decisions that we're going to be making. But that looks like that's the end of season 1, and we'll focus more on season 2 and see how far we can end up going with that. If we can manage to get a championship over the course of the next couple seasons, that's obviously what we're gonna try and do. But we're just going to more so simulate and then see where Michkov stands in terms of the rankings of the Flyers, and see if he can manage to be legendary status. He's obviously bound to be in the Hall of Fame anyways. Just as a result of winning three championships for sure. But so far, I mean, he is regressing a little bit quicker than what we were hoping. Defensive is virtually non-existent, and same thing with his physicals are starting to go down a little bit, but obviously his mental is still good and his offensive is still good. So hopefully we can just focus on having him as a sniper. He used to be as a 15 or 16. I think now it's down to a 14. But we'll have to obviously monitor that. He might even switch onto the left wing. But so far in terms of his awards, he's won a pretty decent amount. Conn Smythe, just the 1 though, and then Bill Masterson, just the 1. Mark Messier, just the 1, and 5 NHL All-Star games, and at least a bronze medal with Russia, but that was a little while ago as well. He did manage to get, let's see which ones these are. Championship 1, 2, 3, and 4. Oh, for St. Petersburg. Okay, so he's managed to win 4 championships, but 3 of them being with us, so not too bad so far. But yeah, he's definitely regressing, and as long as we can kind of keep him in the spotlight for a little bit longer, it should be good. But obviously, we'll end this whole simulation once he retires. But we'll just do a recap for every season, and we'll jump to season 2 and see how well he manages to do for that. And we just finished season 2, the 2038-39 season, and we managed to actually win. I was quite shocked that we managed to do that. We did finish first in our division, but we did have a little bit of an uphill battle facing off against Carolina. They proved to be pretty difficult for us, but then we ended up beating Washington 4-1, and then we surprisingly beat Buffalo 4-2. They were crazy in the regular season, so that was probably one of the biggest challenges that we had to do. And then we ended up almost sweeping LA Kings. So LA Kings weren't really projected to be one of the top teams for sure, but they did finish top of their division, but we'll get into that soon in terms of the whole record. We did finish second in the whole league, and as you can see, LA not as threatening there. Their away record and home record were actually pretty decent, but obviously ours was a little bit better. 29, 11, and 1 home, and then 25, 16, and 0. We were 4-0 in the shootouts, and before the season ended, we were on a 4-game winning streak, so we managed to obviously pad onto that. 54 wins, though, pretty decent. We'll take a look at some of the transactions that we did to get us to that point, and then we'll obviously go and see how Michkov's doing in terms of how well he's doing for the history, and as well he's doing for everything else. But we'll look at the trades first. We did do the Luchenko and the Clem. Luchenko we ended up parting ways with. His contract was just a little bit too much, so we're going to look at how well he did this season as well. And then Clem was one of our defenders that we just had to part ways with. We'll show as to why in a sec, but it looked like Luchenko played the majority of his season in the AHL, so I don't feel too bad. I am shocked that they gave up anything for him then, but the fact that he's probably not going to play in the NHL for the remainder of his career is actually pretty comforting, that he will pretty much retire as a Flyer. So shocking that they end up giving up anything for him, and I find it odd that teams would be actually willing to part ways, even though it's a third rounder. And as the Ducks, I was expecting a little bit better. Then Clem actually ended up playing 71 games this season. He did grade only 59, so we were very wise to get rid of him. Plus minus was minus 26, which is terrible. He didn't really play that much for us over the last couple seasons, only really playing around 60 and 58 games. But he is 25, so he can still kind of improve a little bit, but we're not really holding our hats on that. But we were wise to get rid of him, obviously because we ended up making some incredible signings. We ended up getting Dan Lowry as a free agent, and we managed to get him at a discount, just over $6.5 million per season for 4 years. So he should be able to play until Michkov ends up retiring. We did sign Schumacher as well. He is only graded as a 2, but we did get him for 2 seasons at pretty much league minimum, so $775. Not too bad, but he did do decent. 10-6-0, 914 save percentage isn't the worst, so I'm okay with that. He did play admirably throughout this season as well. And then we end up getting Simon Cisic, 36 points in 82 games. He did play around 12 minutes, so a lot less than what he did last season. But we did get him at a relatively decent discount, $2.5 million roughly. So those players are the ones that we ended up getting. We pretty much got him for what Luchenko was getting paid anyways. We did sign Krut. He did get 78. We did send him on loan as well, but I think he was drafted by us, if I'm not mistaken. I'll show that in a second. Did we? Yeah, we ended up drafting him in the 7th round, so not too bad. But we did send him on loan, so that is what she wrote for that. Let's look at the stats. Throughout the season, Lowry ended up getting 90 points, Martin with 82, Skarepa with 74, Ripken with 73, so still our top player is doing pretty well. Lowry, obviously the recent addition, he was more of a goal scorer on his other teams, but kind of playing more of a Gretzky offense on this one. Janssen and then Michkov down there. So 50 points this season in 81 games. So almost playing every game. I wouldn't be surprised if he does retire at 34. But I can't imagine him playing too many seasons. He is starting to regress in terms of his physicals. His acceleration and his speed definitely taking the brunt of that. Stamina also getting affected by that as well. I would expect his mentals to kind of go up as he ages, but I don't know why the game doesn't really factor that in. I feel as though it should. His checking's still okay, and obviously his offense is still there. He did manage to get 3 goals less than what he did last season with around 2 minutes less. He is playing usually on the second, but sometimes on the third as well. But look at how well he did in the playoffs, though. He ended up managing to get 15 points for us, 9 assists and 6 goals in 23 games. So ultimately not that bad. Clearly leading us in the right direction. 69 grade though is not what we're used to. We're used to seeing him more so in the 70s. We'll take a look at how well he did. He's around 430. He's now the top goal scorer of our team, of our franchise ever. I feel as though the points is going to be a bit difficult. If he plays 2 more seasons, he should be able to achieve that. If he averages around the 50-point mark as well, I think he should be able to do that. I'm kind of hoping that he has 1 or 2 more seasons in him, at least to kind of bridge that gap. But I think it's going to be a little bit difficult for him to do that. I don't think he'll get the assist one. That seems a bit too ambitious. He's still around 150 below that. But where he really shines, though, is definitely in the postseason, though. We'll look at that 247 in 262 games. That is remarkable. Ripken in second with 177. Luchenko obviously not on our team anymore. And same thing with Tippett being the third and fourth, then Clark being the fifth there. Martin's probably going to end up outshining him if we end up playing next season as well. But more interesting, we'll look at how well he did in terms of the draft of the other players that were in the same draft. I believe it's this one, 2023. Whenever it wants to show. I think I screwed that up. Yeah, I think it's 2023. We'll go to skater stats here, and that will help us a little bit more. So yeah, Connor Bedard, obviously number 1, and then Michkov number 2. So 1136, not too bad in terms of points. 430 goals and 706 assists. So obviously Bedard being the generational talent, fitting in just below him is pretty awesome. Does have around the same penalty minutes though, but his plus minus, oh my god, 279. There has to be something broken in that. There's no way that it's that high. 279 is way more. Barkey is number 2. I don't think he's really played that much after we end up letting him go though. But power play goals at sea, yeah, he's not the top of that. Power play assists, not so much of that. Shorthanded though. He is number 1 in shorthanded goals and shorthanded assists as well. Barkey also being in second in there as well. So we do score a lot on the shorthanded, but finishing second isn't that bad, especially being a 7th overall. I did anticipate him actually going second in real life drafts, so I'm surprised that he managed to drop all the way to 7th. Obviously, Philly did the best thing by grabbing him then. And they got him a little bit earlier than expected as well. But hopefully he can manage to get to the 1,200 mark in terms of games as well. I don't think that he ends up retiring, but you never know. Obviously, his birthday is, I believe it's in December. So 3.5 stars. Yeah, it's going to be December 9th, and that's when he ends up doing that. But we'll look at our cap situation. And it does look like next year we do have to pay a little bit more. We're struggling already this season, so we're going to have to part ways with someone. Someone that's not pulling their weight. We're going to have to probably part ways with them if we do continue. Maybe even Billy Belcher. It's going to have to end up going. We can probably trade him for something decent. Even Sissek, we might even have to part ways with. We did just get him, but I do think it might be one and done. Sammy Nelson, decent value, so we're going to probably keep him. And defenders as well, we're going to have to kind of look at it. Kamiyasu actually played 11 games for us, getting 4 points. So overall, not too bad. And then obviously we have to pay more for Hansen. So taking a look at the monthlies though, it is going to be a bit difficult doing it next season. But we're going to have to probably sell the farm. I don't know if we end up actually being a playoff team next season. We're going to have to definitely get rid of a lot of our players for that. But let's jump to that. Let's see if Michkov ends up retiring in the summer, or if we end up having one more season in him. And we finished the 2039 and 2040 season, and once again we were victorious. We managed to actually sweep Utah after they put on such a clinic against everyone on the western side. But we managed to beat Montreal in the conference finals 4-2. So our former team that we ended up managing in previous franchise hockey managers, and then also we managed to beat Pittsburgh as well, another team that we ended up previously managing as well. And then we beat Carolina 4-2 to start things off. I mean, during the regular season, we did do pretty good. We finished second in the league, 114 points, 318 goals for, and 248 against, with a difference of 70. But Utah just destroyed that. They doubled us in terms of differential. So either they had such an easy division, or they just ran through everyone. But 35-5-1. I didn't even book that. 35-5-1. Only 6 losses at home, and then 20-18-3. We actually were pretty good away from home during the playoffs. Sometimes we dropped the first game, so that's pretty odd. They managed to do so well. In terms of the conference, though, obviously finished top spot. And then in terms of the division, we finished top as well, but not by much. I mean, Carolina was definitely hunting us for the most part, but we made easy work of them. Regardless, but I guess the two wild cards were our division then, I guess. No. So then how do we play both teams here? Oh no, Pittsburgh faced Carolina. Sorry, we faced New York Islanders. But either way, doesn't really matter that much. But regular season, we'll take a look at the stats though. And we did pretty well throughout the regular season. Lowry with 104, Skorupka with 101, Martin with 95, and then Ripken with 71. And then all the way down here is Michkov, who managed to play every single game though, only 41 points now. So definitely regressing from previous seasons. He did 50 the season before. Definitely less goals and just a handful less of assists as well. So he's definitely losing the grip of being the franchise player here, but take a closer look at the history. He is in second. We could drag him across the finish line and pass Bobby Clark, but I feel as though it's probably going to sit at that. He's just 1 goal above Ripken, so that wouldn't last that long anyways. So, and then also in terms of assist leader is he's definitely not going to do that. He'd have to play like Jagger years for sure to be able to even come close to passing that. So it does look like he's probably going to finish second, but we do have 7 championships, and he is responsible for a decent amount of those. I think 5 of those actually, or 4. No, 4 of those that he's responsible of. So not too bad at all. We'll take a look at how well everyone did in the playoffs though, and that will matter a little bit more. We did start a little bit slow in terms of the playoffs. Svensson carried the load for sure. Lowry with 23 points as well. Martin with 18, and Skorupka with 18 as well. But Michkov putting on 15 was actually pretty insane. He didn't do that well to start things off, but he managed to finish very strongly in the finals, basically scoring at least a goal pretty much every game. So 9 goals is more in the playoffs than what he did the whole season, which I find that absolutely insane. Him just deciding to show up when he needs to is pretty wild, that's for sure. But we'll take a closer look actually. I think this might even be, is it showing the championship 28-20-30, 28-39. I think we actually won an extra championship, so I think we'll have to hit continue once more for it to actually show it, and then it'll show it now. I think we end up doing it a little bit shy. We did this a bit, we end up recording this just as soon as we end up winning it, so I don't think anything's kind of settled in yet. So yeah, number 7 actually, so Yeah, so it was 7. But I guess it just didn't, for whatever reason, didn't show, I guess. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh. Yeah, so 5 for us. That's not bad. I'll take that all day long. So 5 for us, 5 for Michkov. We'll take a closer look at even our stats throughout this whole legendary status, because this could be the last season. I would be surprised if he has one more season in him. But managing to eclipse 826 wins, 421 losses. So that is a fantastic ratio. We managed to win 5 championships and 2 GMs of the year, but not fired is definitely the part that really matters the most. But managed to eclipse over 50, and that is largely in due to his stats for sure. Michkov definitely leading the way for the most part of that. Kind of in his Taves years though. But yeah, I mean 1,177 points is pretty crazy. He could, 41's not that far away. He could easily do it. If he can do what he did in the playoffs, he could definitely pass. I mean, he could have one more season. I'm kind of hoping that he does, but that would be crazy. We'll take a look at some of the transactions that we did. This one was pretty difficult to maneuver throughout this season, but we'll do our trades first. We ended up getting rid of Schumacher for a 4th, but I don't remember that really. And let's go back to here. Yeah, because we got rid of Liski as well. And Sisek, like we said, we were going to get rid of. We got rid of him for a 2nd. We got a 1st. He should have been able to get much more than that. And then Belcher, we ended up getting rid of for a 1st as well. So we ended up just offloading in the offseason. Most of these players were under contract, but like Billy Belcher was just a little bit too rich. We ended up signing some players as well, which is what kind of compensated that. And then Sisek was 2.3, so just a little bit too much for the amount of game time that he would actually play. Liski is definitely the one that we couldn't sign anyways. 9.5 million, and then he wanted around 13 a season afterwards, so there's no way that we would have been able to afford that moving on. So we definitely parted ways with him for that reason. Obviously, we liked having him on the team, but there's only so much that you can really do. Signings wise, though, we did get Walter Spencer. Walter Spencer was in the NCAA. He only graded around a 59. He played 81 games and played on the bottom line, so just improved slightly, I would say. And then Bozic, who has a 4-star potential, potentially, but I kind of doubt it. Ended up getting 21 points in the AHL. He only played 5 games for us. And we did bring him up towards the final, or towards the playoffs as well. And then we ended up getting Jelinas as well, but he played the majority of the time in the ECHL. Not quite good enough to play for us. And then Verdon as well. Did I click on the right? I think I clicked on the wrong one. So we ended up signing Bubenisek, who played largely in the AHL there. We didn't really get to play him that much because of his salary. I did misread the amount of money that we had to play with, so he did have to play the whole season in the AHL. So we only brought him up when a player got injured, but he still didn't do that well, so we didn't really invest too much on him that way. Adam McConnell we had before, and then we just ended up re-signing him. We signed him for around $1.5 million. I think he wanted around 4 or something, which is one of the reasons why we didn't sign him. But he's only played for the Flyers, doing a little bit better than what he did last season. Grade-wise, just a little bit less, but nothing you can do. Womack is the one that we end up actually signing, and yeah, 58, but only played around 9 minutes. Husak, largely for why did it say NHL? Oh yeah, largely for NHL, so we could put Schumacher back down to the AHL, but then they end up offloading him. I kind of don't like that. He was 7-6-0, but I don't think we really looked at our goalies for the most part. But we'll have to look at that now, and then we'll look at the draft to see how well we end up doing during that time. So regular season for our goalies, we managed to get 48 wins out of Hansen, so pretty remarkable. 909 save percentage. A little bit better than Tannhauser, but one of the reasons why we couldn't afford all the players was because of the amount of money that we're giving him. I'm not too grand about paying goalies that crazy amount. I'd rather get them a little bit younger to pay them a little bit less. But that's just me. I think in the game it doesn't really factor in how elite goalies can be. I think a 3-star can definitely win you a championship as well. Playoffs though, only the one win for Husak, so played 2 games, 1 win, and then Hansen ended up playing 20 games, 15, 4, and 0 with a 923 save percentage. Even Husak had a 977 with only looks like 1 goal against versus 44, which is still pretty wild. But we managed to make at least a dent in the draft though, and got some pretty decent players. We got Roy Carlson, who could easily play with us this season. I feel as though he'll probably play with us next season if Michkov doesn't retire. We could definitely use him. He's 72 grade in the OHL, so he should probably be pretty decent for that jump. And then Randy Saunders looks pretty similar actually. 71 grade in the NCAA, 23 assists, only 2 goals, so definitely not a shooter by any means, more of a passer, and we'll definitely have to look at the depth if we end up playing one more season. And then we got John McCartney, who got 30 points in 34 games, 72 grade, all in all looking pretty decent. So we've definitely padded up on defense. I know that's one of the areas that we really need. It's not going to show that. There we go. So lefty was definitely one of our weaknesses. So we did try and kind of go all in to kind of fix that hole. But I mean, taking a look at the cap situation as well, it's going to be a bit tricky. We're going to only have 8 million left, but we're going to lose Skarepa and Nelson as well as probably Wright. I don't think we can afford him. He probably wants 3 million. He wants double what he's getting paid now, so we're going to have to kind of maneuver some stuff. Might even have to part ways with the defenseman again just to be able to afford that. But like I said, I don't think Michkov ends up playing another season, but we'll have to kind of monitor that anyways. But if he doesn't end up playing, we'll end up jumping to the offseason and go more in depth in terms of all the stats and everything like that. So let's jump to the 2040-2041 season and see if Michkov is still there. And thus concludes the 2040-2041 season. We did get knocked out in the conference finals. Nothing much we could do against Ottawa Senators, who then ended up losing in the same fashion against Utah. Utah ended up winning this season. They finished runners-up last season. If you take a look at the league, they were definitely top of the league. Nothing anyone could do. Just 170 goal differential. We're only at 78, but our home record was 31, 9-1, and our away record was 22, 18-1. So I think if we didn't end up getting injuries to Martin towards the end of the season, we would have been fine. He did get injured also in the playoffs, which did not help one bit. But we'll take a look at how will we end up doing in terms of players. Anyways, 96 points for Booze. Lowry with 72. Our rookie Rickard Tuohima ended up getting 59 points. Moravec with 59. Martin with 58. Ripken with 55. Janssen with 48, and Michkov with 45, so a little bit better than what he did last year. So all in all, not that bad. The question ultimately remains, did he manage to do it? And yes, he did. He managed to clear it with 12 points, but in saying that, Ripken ended up managing to take over as the goals leader. Michkov is now in second. Couldn't quite get 450 this season, but managed to do a little bit better than last year, so we can't really fault him for that. 9 goals this season, so just 1 goal more than last season. But in terms of the goalies as well, we'll take a look at that. And Hansen keeping it down with 42 wins, 23 losses, and 2 overtime losses for 919 save percentage. And then Husak with 912. We'll take a look at how well we did in the playoffs. and 9.6 and 1 for 925. So we definitely failed him if his save percentage is 925. So I'll have to take a look at how well the players end up doing. I mean, Booze ended up getting 24, so not too bad. 18 for Rickard, and then Carlson, who looks like it's his rookie season as well, managed to get 13. Moravec with 13. Rybkin with 11, and Michkov with 10. He managed to get 10 despite not producing at all in the first round, but came alive in the second, and still kind of faced admirably in the third, but couldn't quite do it. 2, 8, and I guess 4 plus minus is not too bad. 67 grade though. And I mean, ultimately we did pretty well despite all the obstacles. We'll look at the signings first. We ended up getting Sandell. He didn't really play that much for us. He played around 3 games. He got 2 points, but 59 grade. Stefan Pakar, we ended up loaning out. It initially showed that he was our second best winger, but we ended up sending him alone just for one more season because I didn't really see spot for him on the left wing there. We ended up getting 2 goalies, but they didn't really do anything. Bella Booze, we managed to get actually for a pretty decent value, 12 million. And the only reason why we were able to afford that is based on the trades that we ended up getting. But Bellaboo's doing amazing. Talonen ended up getting a 62 grade and 44 points though in 14 minutes roughly. So third line minutes did pretty good. Mitkovic ended up getting traded away, so we ended up signing him for nothing. Furby as well. Husak came back for us, and then we ended up getting a Nuth. Nuth ended up getting 32 points in 82 games, 64 grade, so not too bad. We ended up getting him for around 6.5 million, so not quite the offensive output that you would expect, but we managed to get some trades done though. I guess this one, Bubanesic, the guy that didn't end up playing that much last season, we ended up trading him for a third. Romberg, we traded for a third as well. We could have easily got more for him. Here on the Calgary Flames, he ended up getting a 71 grade, so and around 31 points, but we couldn't quite afford him. As you can see, 6 million under cap hit. Nothing we could really do about that. We had to balance as much as possible. We gave up Stein for a first. He ended up doing a 65 grade this season with 41 points, so not too bad. But yeah, his contract was a little bit too rich for us, six and a half roughly, and it does look like I think we extended him maybe. No, he extended with Chicago for 7.5 next season. So yeah, we definitely could not afford that moving forward. Svensson as well. Curious to see, he didn't do as good as what he did on our team, even with more playing time. So we traded him to Nashville, which is one of our hubs that we end up training to as often as possible. 66 grade though, 42 points. They did make the playoffs though. Predators ended up having a couple of our players, Liski as well. Let's see, Svensson is the one as well, and I feel as though they got someone else, but maybe in a couple seasons ago, and they might have traded him away. But yeah, anytime that I saw Nashville as one of the trade possibilities, I did do that if we were trying to just give him up based on salary restraints. We ended up getting a Gransky. They ended up paying half his salary for a bunch of prospects, so under 3 million for 2 years, not too bad. And I think actually it cost us less. Hold on. No, 2.82. Okay, 2.82, and we end up getting up Sadler, Bozek, and Purvis, 4th rounder and a 3rd rounder. And then our AI ended up getting rid of all these players. Kayamisu ends up leaving as well, which is unfortunate. Did play with the Rangers for a bit. But ultimately, I did wish that we could have kept them just to have Tusik ends up going for a 2nd, Mikovic for a 5th, and then Furby, one of the signs that we ended up getting for that. Take a look at the draft, though. And we didn't really do too many crazy things. We did manage to finish pretty well this season despite everything. We got McDonald, who does look like he could be something. We got him with our 1st round pick. I think he was projected to be a little bit later. Actually, I think it was another team's pick, but we managed to get him, at 19 potential, and then we got him at 24. So the Stein pick, we ended up getting a left winger for that. Krug, we ended up getting with our pick. I did pretty well with the Spitfire, so a center there, and I think we just let AI take over after that. Yeah, we got him one pick later than what he was projected, so all in all, not bad. Horik as well. I think that was the last one that we ended up getting based on what we looked at, but we looked at determination and temperament a little bit, and he did great around 72 last season. But most of these I just allowed AI to pick because I think we're at the tail end of everything, and we're not really going to have to worry about that coming in the future. I mean, 1-2-2-2-2 is not too bad. If that is the end of his career, we did think that it was going to be next year, but he did end up signing an extension, which could hurt us for 1 year. So he might still come back for 1 year for $9 million, but he could also retire as well. But with that, Martin might have to get re-signed. We did bring back Fyodorov, so I don't know why I didn't show that in terms of the signings. But we did bring back Fyodorov, who used to be with us a long, long time ago, but then ended up going to the NL and producing pretty well for that. He did come back and score 33 points for us, so his NHL total just under 300, so not too bad one bit. We might have to extend McConnell as well, and Jansen as well. I'm looking at, we do have around 20, I'd say probably around 20 million to spend, and then we can obviously move around players if we have to. Fyodorov's obviously leaving. We probably want to extend him, and then Husak we might end up offloading as well, but not much in terms of depth there. Martin, I'm curious to see what he would want. He wants around 8.5. That might be a bit too rich. We might end up letting him go at 31 and just bring in someone younger if we do end up playing. But let's jump to next season, see if Michkov end up playing his last game with us. If not, then we'll continue one more season. So let's jump to the 2041-2042 season and see if Michkov's going to play for that one as well. So as we start the 2041-42 season, this email comes at our computer, and we see that Michkov has retired at the age of 36. He said the decision wasn't easy, but it was obvious. My kids are getting to the age where they're starting to wonder where their dad is gone so often. And obviously the Flyers say that he will remain part of the Flyer family, and rightfully so. He ends up getting his jersey retired, and there'll be a ceremony for him this season. But I feel as though that's probably not enough. Team data does show that he also is retired here, but as it is the first day of the season, we're going to have to look at our annual finances here, and I think we're going to do it. We're going to have to end up naming the arena after him. I feel as though that's the only thing to do. We can build around a 22,000 capacity, around 1650 in terms of standing capacity, and 1760 in terms of premium, and then 176 in terms of luxury boxes. So already a little bit better than what we have now. So I think that'll have to be the decision that we end up making. We won't change anything. We won't even raise anything for that. We'll obviously do heavy marketing as well to support that. But the fact that we can manage to build one in his honor after playing, I think, 16 or 17 seasons is pretty awesome. So we'll end up jumping to him as well to more so give a look at how far we've come throughout this whole series. But we'll take a look at the year that he ended up getting drafted, and we'll take a look at where he ends up stacking up against players that ended up playing on his year as well. So I accidentally end up clicking on the wrong one twice now. Jesus. So 2023-34 or 24 season. He does manage to finish second in that draft class. So 7th overall, finishes second. Obviously to Connor Bedard, but that is not that is nothing wrong with that. 1,222 points, 447 goals, so not quite 450. I think he still stacks up as the second most goals, and then even assists he ends up finishing. So I mean, leaps and bounds ahead of Fantilli. Fantilli didn't even come close to the levels that Michkov ended up doing. He is definitely in legendary territory and will probably be a first ballot Hall of Famer for sure. He ends up finishing with 22 shorthanded goals and 22 shorthanded assists. He did do pretty well for us, even towards the end of it. 36 assists in the last season, but 45 points total. He did kind of start to lose his goal scoring touch, and I feel as though if we end up having him play a little bit more attacking, he might have been able to maintain that. But for the past 4 seasons, couldn't quite deliver in terms of in front of the net, more so resulting in his points coming from assists, but still doing pretty good. If he didn't get that one injury, I feel as though we would have had a good chance at that. But we'll look at the history mark here, and yeah, he's now retired and currently still top points getter, so not too bad. But we'll take a look at the player index regardless and look at how well he ended up doing versus how well everyone else did as well. Ripken was his line mate for most of his career, and he ended up eclipsing over 1,000 points as well, but still not to the level of Michkov, but still all in all pretty good, I will say. Luchenko didn't end up playing another game in the NHL after this, finishes at 918. He could have possibly ended up hitting that mark as well. Martin there, probably not with us this season as well. 765, and then Tippett as well, but we didn't really contribute to that much. But we'll take a look at how well they did in terms of the playoffs. This is where it starts to come alive here. 272 points. That is insane. I want to see how well that stacks up to all time as well. Ripken finishing in second, and Luchenko in third, and Martin fourth. Tippett actually managing to feature on that as well, passing even Clark in terms of all-time points. But we'll take a look at the history in terms of NHL and see where it stacks up, because I don't think he'll stack up in terms of points. I don't think it's as crazy, but 1, 2, 2, 2, yeah, he's still below. But we'll see what kind of company he manages to stay with. Brad Marchand is a name that comes to mind. So he had a very similar series or seasons to what Marchand ends up doing. So that is insane. I never would have thought. So he does feature into that kind of mark. Barkov actually finishing just a couple points above as well. But around the Statsny and even Stutzel end up doing as well. Al McInnes featured that high. Joe Aginla with around 13. So he finishes above Vincent Danfus, one of my favorite players, and even shockingly enough finishes above Rantanen. So if you thought that his career was maybe not as good as what it could have been, he finishes above Rantanen, which is absolutely insane. Even Matthews couldn't quite do it. So definitely a generational talent, but we'll take a look at the playoffs and see where it really stacks up. And he finishes second only to Gretzky in terms of total points. That is insane. 299 is good enough in terms of playoffs for 2 points more than McDavid. And McDavid was playing a ton of playoff minutes for sure. Couldn't quite get the championships. The fact that he managed to get 5 is still astonishing. So 5 championships and 299 points. So one shy away of 300, which would have been insane. So I think that, I don't know if that features in his, it must not, hold on. I feel as though it doesn't feature his, 299 it does. Features his Stanley Cup, okay. I thought for a second it didn't. So not too bad overall, but finishes second only to Gretzky, which is saying something. If that guy's not going to be a first ballot, then I don't know what to tell you. Staff index, though, we'll take a look at total wins, though. For us, we do finish, I mean, top 20 is not bad. 879 wins and 448 losses. Not too bad. How do we fit in terms of the leaderboard for every team? We end up playing a little bit more than what Keith Allen did, but managing to win more than him anyways. And the wins does not really stack up the same way. So we'll just end up leaving that at that. We'll leave it at points. So obviously we finished top in terms of points, and we end up finishing with over 200 more wins, largely due to Michkov anyways. But Michkov did very well for us, and we'll have to take a closer look actually at one more thing before I end up signing off and ending this. But all in all, he ended up doing fantastic for us. There's nothing really we can say. We can't really expect too much from them, but he does end up leaving with a lot of achievements here. I'll end up looking at all of his achievements hopefully soon once it ends up loading. So complete history, is it going to show it? Okay, career highlights. We'll go with awards here. So he managed to win the Bill Masterson First Team All-Star, Conn Smythe, First Team All-Star right winger a couple times for first team, and then also second team as well. Mark Messier Leadership Award, he ends up getting nominated and then wins that one as well, but gets nominated several more times for that. Did get nominated for the Calder, but didn't quite win, but I think that's what managed to make it so that this series was that dominant afterwards. But we'll take a closer look at kind of how well we end up doing in terms of seasons as well. I think we'll have to go into history factor. So we only missed the playoffs the first season, but every single season that Michkov was captain, we end up making the playoffs. So that is an incredible stat to hold your hat on for sure. Finishing second in terms of all total goals scored, Ripken only passing him this season, and then finishes second all-time in terms of assist leader, and then number one in terms of points. If this hasn't been a fantastic series, then I don't know what will be, but hopefully you guys like this as well. I'll be starting a new one over the next couple days, but thank you all for your support, and hopefully you guys end up enjoying this. Leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more series, or if you have any ideas for other series for me to start, then please, I'm all ears. But thank you so much, and hopefully Michkov can have as good of a career here as he does in real life. So thank you all for watching. Until next time.